Kaged Nation, ladies and gentlemen, oh my god, Infinity War, this movie. Okay, so I'm going to actually have 3 reactions set up for this. One, I'm going to do a non-spoiler reaction, which is what this is. Then I'm going to do a spoiler reaction for the people who have seen the movie. And me and my girlfriend did like almost a bit too casual of a review, and so I wanted something a little bit more concise. So I sat down this morning, I wrote out my thoughts, and before I posted anything, I wanted this particular review to hit. The first thing I'm going to say about Avengers Infinity War is you are not ready. You're not ready for this movie. I promise you. You think you might know something that's going to happen. You don't know. This movie, it sets a whole new tone for the MCU. It changes the landscape drastically. I was actually really surprised by some of the creative choices made for this movie in particular. And I gotta say, it was an amazing thrill ride. It really was. This movie, from beginning to end, was just phenomenal. And it's funny because it was over 2.5 hours and it did not feel anywhere near 2.5 hours long. I remember at the end when credits started rolling, I'm like, what, that's it? Because I knew the runtime was like 2.5 hours, so I'm expecting so much more, and it just like, it flies by. I mean, it just really engrosses you. It takes you in, and you're so invested in this. So there is a lot to love about this. And one thing I will say about this movie specifically is the scale just keeps growing. I remember reading somebody's non-spoiler review just before I saw this, and they made mention of how they felt like the airport battle still really wasn't outshined, and I'm like, I don't see how, because the scale of a couple of the battles here were huge, absolutely huge. Of course, you know from the trailers that one of the big battles is in Wakanda, and you saw in the trailer all these things running towards this dome, and I'm telling you, that fight, I mean, there was a lot to it. So, I don't know. I don't know that I agree about the airport comment that was made, because quite frankly, I feel like they just keep getting bigger with every movie. And it really was something that was breathtaking at times. Another thing about the action here is that this movie is really a tour de force. That there's non-stop action to it, and I mean, really from the beginning of the movie to the end, there's not too many lulls. I mean, it's one of those movies where you built up everything for 10 years, you built up these characters for 10 years, you know who Iron Man is, you know who Captain America, Thor, the Hulk, you have an emotional reference for every one of these characters, so you don't need to spend time building up the characters anymore. By now, you should already be emotionally invested in it, so the really only big character development that you see is Thanos, because he's really the one being introduced. And so the rest of it is just the action. It's just what is happening. Like, this is one big culmination, gut punch of a movie. And it really is. I love how entertained I was by the action. I also love how they set up these big emotional payoffs. And there were actually several in this movie. And walking into Avengers Infinity War, if you know anything about Infinity War, you know there's going to be casualties, and you know there's going to be emotional stakes involved. Part of the fun of that is trying to figure out who, how many, and what the repercussions of that is going to be. And they really delivered on all accounts. Because, like I said, you're not ready. You don't know. And I'm telling you right now, there were so many gasps in that audience. There There was a lot of very visceral reactions. So, very cool. And I have to say, like I said, half of the fun is the guessing game in this movie because right off the bat, you're starting out with something that you probably didn't see coming. And it just keeps piling and piling and piling and piling. And at the end, you're just like in a state of shock. You really are. Like, there are moments in this movie that just leave you dumbfounded. Especially with choices they made as far as, well, we'll get into that later. Non-spoiler. So, Thanos, obviously he's the big bad in this movie. He's basically the main character. And for this movie, it's an Avengers movie, but like I said, you've had 10 years of build-up for everybody else. So honestly, I think Thanos gets most of the screen time in this movie. They really spend a lot of time building him up and trying to get you to relate to him. But in order to get you to relate to him, you have to be visually attached to the character. And since it's a CGI character, I don't know if they used any makeup for Josh Brolin or not, but I know it's a lot of CGI. And it was so damn good. The facial inflections, you could really read his emotions, and they did a great job of articulating what the face would do. There's not too many movies where you see this big alien creature that has this kind of emotional response to things with his face. I thought it was a great job. The CGI was absolutely amazing. And Josh Brolin, man, I've always liked Brolin. I've said in so many trailer reactions for this and for Deadpool 2 where he plays Cable, that Josh Brolin is just amazing. He really is. He is, I don't want to say a character actor, but I mean, he does seem to really get into character, and I don't know if he's the type of actor that, like, doesn't leave character, but he is just really amazing. I mean, he has an extremely wide range of emotion, and he sells himself very well, and the inflections in his voice, I mean, Josh Brolin made Thanos for sure, and spectacular job. An absolutely spectacular job. And of course, he has the Black Order. The Black Order is highlighted very well in this movie. And Ebony Maw, oh my god, I don't know who this actor is. I saw a picture of him once. He's an Irish actor, I guess. And really did a great job, again, with the voice inflections and, the mocap. It was really, really well done. Ebony Maw was great. But the Black Order in general was just really good. It was a very, very good team of villains that they put together for this movie. And you could really feel a sense of desperation in the fights and in the battles with the Black Order. Very, very cool. As far as highlights like emotional impacts and people who did a really good job conveying emotional scenes, Robert Downey Jr., he's a really great actor. And he had a couple of pretty emotional scenes there where, you had to get across his anguish, and I think he did very well with it. I mean, I think he always does. I mean, he's a really underrated actor, I think, and I mean underrated in a big, big way. Because this guy, when he has a serious role, you feel it. And I know Iron Man isn't exactly what most people would consider a serious role, but he's just that good of an actor. And I have to be honest, I think Chris Hemsworth really surprised me with his emotional acting. And it's really funny because coming off of Thor Ragnarok, he was so funny and great comedic timing. He really, it was a completely different character in here. Completely different fucking character. Completely. I was so surprised. And I really have to tip my hat to Chris Hemsworth because there was one scene where, I mean, his emotions had to be on display fully, and he did a great, great job, I think. I mean, my personal opinion, he really knocked it out of the park. So, and one of those scenes that, Thor has to really convey emotion was based on a lot of shock value. And this movie, I'll be honest, um, has a lot of shock value. I think they really tried to cash in on that more than anything else because I understand why the Russo brothers set out a disclaimer asking people not to spoil this movie for other people. And I also understand why um, they haven't released the title of the next Avengers movie yet. Because this whole movie is a spoiler. Like, from beginning to end, so much happens that, we probably had 3 or 4 trailers which all showed virtually the same things in different ways, and a couple of very small movie clips that were literally the very beginning of the movie. Um, I they wanted to make sure that when people saw this, that they saw it like I saw it, which was, kind of a blank slate. You didn't know what was going to happen. Thank God for that. And to have the genuine sense of awe and shock and dread, and it really works. I mean, with this movie, it really um, makes you uncomfortable at times, and it sets you on the edge of your seat. Um, and when the big payoffs happen, you're dumbfounded. And I love that. I think they did a great, great, great job with that. And one thing that Marvel has gotten a lot better at lately um, is having really likable villains, but not just likable, but villains that have a motivation that you can understand. And they've gotten really good with that. I think Loki was a very, very good villain. Tom Hiddleston's just amazing. But Zemo in Captain America Civil War was great. And now Thanos comes in, and they do a great job of, like I said, giving you the backstory of why he's doing this. They give you the pain that he's had to go through. They give you the mental state of what his whole concept of what he's trying to accomplish is. And whether you agree with it or not, you understand. And I think it's a very, very good job that you've built up Thanos to be an intelligent character. Somebody who, crazy or not, has this ideology that he follows. And it really pays off within itself knowing that. It really does. And like I said, they gave Thanos more screen time than any other character in this movie, I think. And deservedly so. It really helps set the stage, set the tone for this entire movie. And it really works because there's so many emotional payoffs. As a fan in the crowd, I'm gasping at moments. I'm like, oh my God, did this just happen? I'm, you know, I'm not gonna lie. There was a couple of scenes where I kind of like, I'm more emotionally invested than I thought I could be for a comic book movie. Like they really hit some nerves, and the audience, it was full of gasps. It was absolutely full of gasps. The audience reactions were very, very good. They laughed when they were supposed to. They were shocked when they were supposed to be, and there were plenty of tears in the audience. As a matter of fact, there were a couple of people like directly in front of us that like they weren't just crying; they were like sobbing uncontrollably at the end of this movie. It was it was a gut punch like I've never seen. And there were a few times, man, where you could see a lot of people in the theater getting really choked up. So, yeah, it was definitely so well done that the final payoff was just about as impactful as you can get. I mean, I don't know too many movies that leave you with this kind of oh my god feeling. I remember The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jack Nicholson and all that cast, that amazing cast that they had, and that movie toward the end, you just have character after character dying, and you're like, what is going on? And that's what you get. You get this sense of like, what is happening? So, yeah, it was a very, very well done movie. My favorite performances personally, Robert Downey Jr. of course, he really nails it. Robert Downey Jr. just always kills his performances, and this is no different. It really not. Chris Hemsworth, because there were a couple of scenes where he had to have such an emotional impact, and he really pulled it off very well. I have to give a nod to Chris Hemsworth. Tom Holland, honestly, there was a moment there where he really had to sell himself too, and I mean, it was a really impactful moment, and I thought he did very, very well. And of course, Josh Brolin. I've already talked about how much I loved his performance in this movie, and without Brolin, I think it would not have been the same Thanos or the same movie. So that says a lot. Now, I saw the movie in 2D, and really it was just fine in 2D. I don't think that you necessarily need to see this in 3D or IMAX or anything. Just get comfortable and enjoy the ride, because it's a ride, and this is definitely a marathon. So for the final grade, I mean, there were a couple of things I would have liked to have seen them do, and maybe they're saving it for the next Avengers movie. So I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10, but I am going to give it a strong 9 out of 10. I think that there was just that one thing that I really would have liked to have seen, and for that reason alone, it's not necessarily the perfect movie, but it's damn close. So ladies and gentlemen, that is my non-spoiler review for Avengers Infinity War. And I'm going to say this, I probably should have said this at the beginning, but if you get in my comments and start spoiling anything for people just to be a jerk, you're not only going to have your comments removed within the next couple of hours, but I'm going to block you. Because people get in here to see this movie, to enjoy the surprises, and I don't want some rude jerk getting in my comments and spoiling things for people. So don't do it, because like I said, the comment's going to get deleted and you're going to get blocked. So just don't waste your time on my channel, because it's not going to be worth it for you. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. Kaged Nation, out.